Welcome to the Shanghai International Circuit for the 6th and final round of the 2019 Blancpain GT World Challenge Asia. The stage is set. We have 5 sets of drivers or individual drivers who can still take the overall title. But Roelof Bruins is at the top of the pile. It's his to lose. And after qualifying, things haven't all gone his way. But really, so many points permutations that can be considered. And let's see what happens in this, the first of 2 races this afternoon. The second race is tomorrow. And certainly the championship is going to be right the way to the end. But if we have the golden ticket for Roelof Bruins and he manages to work his way forward, it could yet be his this afternoon. Cars already out on track. And a final sighter for these drivers ahead of forming up on the grid for the second last time in 2019. The title could be settled, but so many challengers out there who are going to try and mix it up. Most notably, the driver on pole position, the outside shot at the championship, has got to win both races, a feat that's only been achieved once before. That's Martin Rump. He's starting from the best seat in the house. And for those behind, it's going to be very, very interesting down into the first sequence of corners, because there is a lot to fight for, and the corners 1, 2 and 3 come thick and fast together, and I've yet to see a race here where there hasn't been a sort out for position in those first 3 corners. So let's go ahead now and take a look at the championship challengers. So many points to consider. Let's hear what they thought.
Gentlemen, if you manage to beat Roelof this weekend, you will share the Drivers' Championship. Are you happy to share, Tal?
No, absolutely not. No, not kidding. Yes, I think this weekend will be like how you say, like a high chance for us to challenge him. I think it would be pretty good.
It would be a triumphant team effort, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, I've known Tanat now 3 years, and we've been teammates 3 years, and yeah, it just would be nice to finally get the championship with him, and it would be our first year racing together. So yeah, really looking forward to the championship fight.
12 points ahead of everybody. This could be the weekend that you wrap it up, but you're in the lead. Do you feel the pressure?
Yeah, it's definitely one of the first weekends for us to be leading the pack and going into the last round. I don't know what to expect. I mean, we're doing the same as we do every other race, so hopefully that should be enough. But we didn't have anything extra to give for this round.
I always like to be the guy who's chasing. I never like to be chased, you know. I think it's less pressure on us because we have almost nothing to lose. They have something to lose. So at the end of the day, you know, we'll see how it pans out, and we'll see what happens in the race, but I'm pretty confident.
What's the best thing about driving on this track?
I mean, it's an exciting track. I mean, Shanghai is very similar-ish to Sepang in Korea, I think, in some ways, and has a long straight. I think it's quite exciting to go into the hairpin and brake late and see the real potential of the car. It's quite fun.
Can you look back at the previous races and say, well, this was the point where I knew it could possibly happen?
No, but to be fair, when we did the first race, I was like quite confident then already because we have like a really good pairing, and also the result also shown like the first few races, and then apparently we have like few bad races due to bad luck, which is like kind of out of our control. But I think if we didn't have those, we would still be a little bit be in the lead, a little bit, but not much.
Can you tell us about the complexities of that first turn, because there are elevation changes and a number of apexes. Is it difficult?
Yeah, it's a difficult corner. I mean, it's a blind corner going in. It's quite high speed, and it's a long right-hander, and that makes it also very like interpretable, like how to go in, which line you take, which speed you carry. I mean, it's a difficult one.
It's tricky. Like the first corner is not the same. I think there's only one track like this in Asia now, and other part is it's also like technical. Only the last part is what long straight is. That's the least tricky part.
Finally, if you look back at the season, what's the one point so far that's really stood out for you?
I would probably have to say our first win, Sepang, and then the double podium in Suzuka, because I think we were the only ones to have 2 podiums in a weekend. I'm not really sure, but you know, we did a lot of good things. A few bad things happen as well during the season, but I think this is racing. You know, you can never have full influence on what's going to happen. We're at P2 in the championship right now. That's how it is, and this is how we must go into the title fight. Last 2 races, and we'll see how it turns out.
So we heard there from Roelof Bruins, the championship leader, Tanat Sathienthirakul and his teammate Philip Hamprecht. Let's take a look at the points. They're not the only ones that can win the championship, but let's look at the scores on the doors. 137 points for Roelof Bruins. His teammate Manuel Metzger is down in 4th place, but obviously sharing with Roelof, he can never be the champion. It will always be Roelof, even if they take both the wins. Philip Hamprecht and Tanat Sathienthirakul just 8 points behind. Let me just explain. It's 25 points for a win, 18 for second, 15 for third, down to 1 point for 10th. Vutikon Fuvasak and Yuya Sakamoto, different drivers in different teams. They're both pitching in there and have qualified very well indeed. But Martin Rump, Weir on Tan, they're the outside bets. They're 6th in the championship. 2 wins is what they need. So let's go down to the grid with no further ado. And Steve Dawson is down with Tanat Sathienthirakul.
Yes, Bruce, since the last time we heard from Tanat Sathienthirakul, he's had a fabulous qualifying session along with his teammate Philip Hamprecht. How did you feel about quali, Tanat?
Yeah, to be fair, like in the practice, I didn't expect to be this high up in the position. But the team gave me like a really good car for the quali, and I think I could have done a little bit better as well, but I'm really happy where I am now.
And is the car in good shape? Because you're in super shape to get to that first corner ahead of everyone.
Yes, we see, but like I'm not gonna do anything stupid, you know, because we are like fighting for the championship now. Let's see.
Bruce, if you can stay with us, I've even got Philip Hamprecht alongside me, who's just giving his teammates some moral support. Philip, how did you feel about that qualifying session?
Yeah, for him it was really, really good. I think we have a mega car on this track. I think BOP-wise we're in a good position, but also overall we did a good job as a team to find a good setup. And now we see it's been a long season. It's a stressful one to the last race, you know, for the championship, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, good luck today.
Thank you very much.
Back to you, Bruce.
Well played, Steve Dawson. They're catching both the drivers of the number 911 Porsche. That's 2nd in the championship. Where will it be? A, at the end of this race, and B, at the end of tomorrow afternoon's. But they've got plenty of space to go and play, because let's take a look at the Shanghai International Circuit, the track map. 5.451 kilometres, 14 turns. Look at the corners at the top of the map there. Turns 1, 2 and 3, up the hill, down again, and then you go to the wonderful sweepers in the 2nd sector behind the paddock, and then you get the long right-hander onto this super long straight down to the turn 14, hairpin there, then the very tricky final corner. It's very wide, there's plenty of space for overtaking, but it's technical. Who is going to get it right? We'll find out very soon indeed. And we've been talking of Roelof Bruins, and he's really had a fantastic season. He shared the majority of it with Manuel Metzger. But with no further ado, Steve Dawson has gone and found Roelof, but he did have to walk back to 7th on the grid, not where the championship leader wanted to start, Steve.
Yeah, Roelof Bruins is with me now, Bruce. And Roelof, how did you feel about the qualifying session?
Yeah, it was hard to say. I mean, qualifying pace was not really there, but I think our race pace should be good, so we're looking very forward to the race.
Race pace good, that's good news for you guys, but you've got a few cars to manoeuvre through in front of you. Is that going to be easy on this track or quite difficult?
It's going to be tight. I mean, turn 1, 2 and 3 are very tight corners, so we have to find a way through that and hopefully overtake a few cars.
All the very best, good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. And we heard in the initial interview that Roelof Bruins is treating this meeting like any other, but all championship leaders will say that, and all people pitching into a championship battle will say that. But right now, he's got 5 cars between where he's starting and the leading challenger. That's Tanat Sathienthirakul. We've heard from both of them. As the grid is starting to clear, I can hear the whistles being blown, encouraging people to leave it, to give us that moment where we can see all 29 cars up and down the grid, and there are certainly other challengers down there looking to get in the mix. The number 12 Audi is the car on pole position. This is the car that Martin Rump, the Estonian racer, is sharing with Wyron, and they have the smallest chance of any of the championship challengers to take this battle. They've got to win both races. It's a feat only achieved once before in the history of Blancpain GT racing in Asia. That was by Aditya Patel and Mitch Gilbert. To win 2 races in one round is nigh on impossible, but that is the task ahead of them, because don't forget, if you take victory in the opening race, you have to serve an extra 15 seconds at a standstill when you come to the second race. To win with that sort of handicap would take a remarkable performance, but that's what our pole driver Martin Rump is aiming for, along with Wyron. Can they do it? We will see. But look, the outside of the front row, the number 911 Porsche from Absolute Racing, that is the car that is the car second in the championship. You have to look 5 places further back on the pit wall side, and that is where you'll find the championship leader, Roelof Bruins. Now, down in GT4, we know that Tsunako Jukuchu and Takayuki Kinoshita could have been champions. They are the champions because they've scored more points than anybody else. But for the sport of it, they've decided to find out which of them will be the overall champion, because they're not running as teammates. Well, they are, but not in one car. They've decided to have 2 cars here this weekend for BMW Team Studi. And the Mon who's got the laugh on his face at the moment, well, they've always got a laugh on their faces and a smile because they love their racing, is the car on the front row in GT4. That's Tsunako Jukuchu, and you have to look down to the final position, 6th, Takayuki Kinoshita, and they both are starting also with 15 seconds extra at a pit stop because they won last time out, but a further 7 seconds because they're going to be driving solo. They will have to get out of their cars at the pit stop and stand behind the line, the white line at the pit garage entry, for 7 seconds before getting back in the car. If either of them can win the GT4 class with a 22-second disadvantage, they will really truly be deserving of the win. But we'll only know which of them, I would suggest, is going to be the overall GT4 champion when we get to the end of play tomorrow. So another twist in the tail of this championship. We started the season in Malaysia long ago, back at the tail end, the start of April. Then we went to the Chang International Circuit in Thailand in May, Suzuka in June, second Japanese race, Fuji in July, Yong'an last time out in August. Very hot and humid it was there. Weather conditions here at the Shanghai International Circuit just about perfect for racing. Much lower humidity than was expected. Temperatures also down a bit, but the sun is shining, air is clear, and it really looks fabulous. Here it is, track temperature 29 degrees. Wind direction, I noticed it just started to pick up a bit, and air temperature 26 degrees. Doesn't actually feel as warm as that, said the man in an air-conditioned commentary booth. But the stage is absolutely set because we've got this fabulous circuit, 5.451 kilometres, plenty of potential overtaking places, but you could hear the doubt in the mind of Roelof Bruins about those 6 cars ahead of him. He wants to do some overtaking, of course he does, but it's not as easy as it looks, particularly against a driver who is going to be very close to you in time. And for our second qualifying session around here, we had the top 15 cars covered by 1 second. It's very close. That was a wonderful aerial shot showing different points on the circuit. There is plenty of space here. Look, it's broad, and there is space out beyond. But for all the drivers right now, they'll be considering the formation lap as they rumble around, but what they'll be thinking most clearly about is turns 1, 2 and 3. Take a look as the field goes around on its formation lap, because not only does turn 2 follow turn 1 very quickly, but almost immediately after that you've got turn 3, steep descent down the slope into turn 3. Very technical indeed. 29 cars coming out to play, 6 in GT4, 23 in GT3. 7 sets of drivers potentially can take the title, or 7 drivers spread across 5 sets of drivers, if you will, because some of them are on their own because they've had different teammates. But here we go. We're going to find out maybe today, but probably tomorrow, who is the champion. The pace car leads the field around, waiting for the signal we will get when it says 16:15, and the cars will set off on their formation lap. Just waiting for the pressing of the green button on the gantry. Off they go. I'm joined in the commentary box by Steve Dawson. What was it like down on the grid there, Steve?
Well, just to reiterate what we were saying this morning, the weather is absolutely gorgeous. I do feel a little bit of tension, I must say. I mean, the last weekend of the season, there's an awful lot at stake here. Didn't get a chance to speak to the pole sitter, Martin Rump, but to be frank, Tanat Satyantirikul Tyrrell and Philip Hamprecht really did seem in good spirits. I wouldn't say they're overconfident at all, but they certainly had a smile on their face. Roloff, I think he realises he's got a serious few moments ahead of him today, and then looking ahead to tomorrow, it's going to be an uphill struggle for him, isn't it, now, with all those cars to weave through, but well capable of it, of course.
OK, what we talked about, Steve, is the fact that he's starting 7th on the grid. It's a bit of a mountain to climb. Well, that's better than his teammate Manuel Metzger starting tomorrow. He's back in 14th. So they're going to have to look and learn and see where people can overtake in this, the opening race. Of course, this race, 1 hour long, we have the driver change, except in the case of those 2 BMWs in GT4. But as the grid goes down, you might have spotted some new teams this weekend. We've got 4 new entries in the GT3 class, 2 Mercedes from the SRO Motorsports Group based in Shanghai. Phantom Pro Racing are out on the circuit as well, and they have really put in a very, very good performance. They qualified 6th fastest. Chris on Chia. That is remarkable to come here. They know the Shanghai circuit. And an entrance from Team iRace.win. We're used to them being in GT4, and they're still in GT4, but they've got a car in GT3 as well. So all those crews are arriving with Mercedes, and certainly good to have them on board with an eye to competing next year. But for the drivers going out around the circuit, that classic element of warming up the tyres. They're 2/3 of the way around the circuit there. They're just heading up towards turn 11, 12, 13 combination that takes the cars onto the back straight. Heat in the tyres. There's a bit of heat in the drivers, but certainly they've never had to do that at all in the previous rounds. We've had so many super hot rounds, actually, for all these drivers, a bit of a relief. And for those taking part in the championship battle, being able to stay a few degrees cooler in the cockpit will certainly help their concentration.
I'm not sure exactly how relaxed Philip Hamprecht will be as he looks here, if he's looking at a TV monitor, through his teammate's window. I mean, what can you do over the next 20 minutes? Just sit there and hope, really, and just prepare yourself. Be focused for your leg of the race.
But I think the fact that Tanart is sitting there with only Martin Rump ahead of him, and then the safety car, the pace car leading them around, that's a far better view than Roloff Bruins will be enjoying from 7th on the grid. Look out for the 97 Mercedes, but the fact that you have quite a few others out there in between them is not a good thing. But some of those in between, including Vutikon in through Fuvasak, who's in the 918 Porsche, starting 4th overall. He's got a 15-second extra stay in the pits, so that will certainly effectively hand 1 position back to Roloff Bruins. Let's not overcomplicate it, though. He's sitting on an 8-point championship lead. If he can come home on the podium, if he can get up to 3rd position, that pretty much puts it in the bag for him. But that's a long way ahead of where we are now. As you can see, 29 cars. That beguiling first trio of corners. Someone's bound to try and make a move there, but let's hope nothing untoward. But it's Audi on the front row alongside Porsche, Ferrari, and then a second Porsche on row 2. Coming into the penultimate corner, turn 16, out of the penultimate corner, 2 by 2 they come. Waiting to see the lights on the gantry. They're still red, they're still red, they're still red. Waiting for the last GT4 cars to get in the straight line. It's a long hold. Oh, it's toying with the drivers. Red surely has to go to green. Now it does. Who gets the better start from the... Where it looks as though Wear on Tan had a good start as well, but the pole man Martin Rump has stayed in front. Where is the Mercedes? It looks so 1 place has been gained already, but he's on the outside line for the driver now up into 6th place. The championship leader, Roloff Bruins, doesn't want to overdo it, but he's picked off 1. He's done well. He's picked off the newcomer in the championship, Phantom Pro Racing. There's experience, but there is experience to control it through the first 3 corners. The man who put it on pole, very well done indeed for Martin Rump, and more challenging in behind. It looks as though
we had a spinner right at the back there. I couldn't quite see who it was, Bruce, but I'm sure we'll get there eventually.
Well, for Tanart Sathyanthirikul, he did what he wanted. He didn't get into the lead, but he hasn't been passed. He's got 2nd place. Already the championship leader, Roloff Bruins, has made his way forward. Another person making moves is Yan Chen for the Chinese team. Oh dear, ARN Racing Porsche. This is a car that qualified on pole for the 2nd of the races, but on the exit of turn 3, the car is parked, and sadly so is the front bumper, so to speak, in the middle of the track. Should be time to get that cleared, but there is debris on the circuit. There are those little shards that tyres do not like. No concerns as yet as they go out of turn 9, stretching his advantage. Martin Rump from Tanart Sathyanthirikul. And that is very, very unfortunate indeed for the ARN crew.
They're definitely going to have to give that track a bit of a sweep. We saw that big chunk of debris, but little bits as well around it. So, yes, as you say, the danger of a puncture, they'll need to attend to that little bit of track.
Martin Rump, though, stretching his legs. We're watching from the second place car. Tanat Sathyan second in the championship, second in the race. But certainly the Audi is pulling clear down that super long back straight down to turn 14. They go, not considering braking, not daring brake. Don't brake now. The brakes are on the Audi. Now the brakes are on Tanat Sathyan. Let's hope those behind can get the anchors on. Certainly Sathyan really pulled in under braking. He was much later on the brakes than Martin Rump, but Martin Rump controls the race from the front. Wave yellow flag, safety car. There is the message. They can't get the brooms onto the circuit fast enough to clear the debris, so very unfortunate for ARN Racing. Out. Yeah, almost as soon as they started, you can see the drivers all acknowledging, slowing down and weaving away. And for the ARN Racing crew, well, you start middle order. Started 12th of the 23 runners. Hiroaki Nagai. Have to take a look at the replay. I didn't spot the spin starting. You saw it at the tail of the action there.
Yeah, we just caught a glimpse of it. I'm interested in how you picked up on Tanat braking late into that corner. Actually, we may get a look at the incident just here.
Well, this is Ryan Chen, who made a really good start. Well, in fact, he's just running around now behind Yuya Sakamoto in fourth, but he started from 5th place, so he's done well. That was the point I think we had the contact. That's dropping down from turn 2 to turn 3, and on the exit of turn 3, dear gosh, they really haven't got onto the circuit to clear that, because every driver needs to get over. Anyone who runs to the right. Oh dear, Phantom Pro Racing on their debut in the championship, they looked as though they got very, very close indeed to the nasty bits, the sharp bits, the shards lying on the circuit. Everyone else going through. One of the cars that's going through, actually crowned champions. They were heading here to look to win the AM Championship in GT3, AMAC Motorsports, and Vitana Motorsport the last minute decided not to come, and that means Andrew McPherson and Ben Porter are champions in the AM class. Let's take a look at the start. Very long hold, making the drivers really, really nervous. Close to the pit wall, you can see Roloff Bruins trying to get his red-nosed Mercedes, number 97, up a position or two. He gains one to the outside, clean from the start. Sakamoto's... So there's not Sakamoto on board, is it? Yes, it is. Got very, very squeezed on the inside. In the back, still looking for the Porsche. She started down middle order, be out of our shot, but any moment now we'll swing around to the big grouping. You can see the Ferrari in 3rd place got very close to Sathyan Thirikul. He won't like the look of that replay, but it was in behind where the contact had been made, and didn't see if the damage that ripped the nose off was contact with the rear end of another car. You have to assume that was the case. They dropped into the compression at turn number 3.
I was just mentioning earlier, Bruce, I found it interesting that you picked up on Sathyan Thirikul braking late into the corner. He must be tempted just to play the percentages here. A few places ahead of his main challenger in the Drivers' Championship, Roloff Bruins. Just stay in the race and don't do anything risky. You'd think that might be the way to approach it, but these are racing drivers.
These are racing drivers. They've got championship chip in their head, but they've got racing driver chip that overpowers everything. And I think he didn't want to let Martin Rump go away, because he knows it's 25 points for winning, 18 for second. He's been gifted the fact he can come in and close right onto his tail behind the safety car. The field should all be running pretty much nose to tail. We can see the first of the GT4 runners. In fact, let's see who is leading in GT4. And you have to go some distance down. It's Jean-Marc Merlan has moved to the front ahead of Sonako Chikuchu. So we lost Nagai. He was given that thump. So let's take a look at the order. So it's Martin Rump in the number 12 Audi from the 911 Porsche, Tanat Sathyan Thirikul, Yuya Sakamoto in the 27 Ferrari. They're the top runners, but Roloff Bruins gained a position. Chris Onchia was the driver who lost 2 positions, qualified a remarkable 6th. Adderley Fong got past him, but so did Roloff Bruins. So Bruins is 6th, our championship leader. Adderley Fong, new to the championship this year. He's competed in Blancpain Asian GT Series before, but he's back with Jun Motorsport crew, a 2 Mercedes combination. Cars look fantastic.
Even as they're weaving behind the safety car, Bruce, they're still making a tremendous noise down beneath us. Our commentary position is right above the finish line, and it's a lovely noise as they snake their way up this straight.
Well, with the enormous grandstand on the far side and these very comprehensive buildings on the paddock side, the noise booms up. There's the bottom of screen, the AMAC Motorsport 51 Lamborghini. They were crowned champions, as they probably got on the plane to come here, because with Vitana Motorsport declining to come here for this weekend, it was an outside chance for Vitana's drivers, Asai and Asavahami, to challenge. But for McPherson and Porter, well done, gentlemen. championship in the bag.
They've just gone past the area where the incident happened, and it looked fairly clean, so I certainly suspect that that yellow flag will stop waving sometime soon. The car in question was also nicely attached to a tow truck, so it looks as if they're making good progress there.
Yeah, so number 8 out of the event, ARN Racing, and unfortunately for them, hopefully fixable. Didn't look too much damage, obviously too much to continue in this race, but out of the event. So, settle down. We're waiting to see the lights go off. It will never go off on the roof until the second half of the lap that the car comes in. The car that leads them around, the pace car, safety car, call it what you will, but it's not quite grid positions as they were, but obviously that was pulled out just before they completed their first racing lap. Pole driver Martin Rump at the front of the pack. He needs to be there. He has to finish in that position, or his teammate White has to be in that position at the end of the race, where on tan, if they're to stand a chance going into the final race at this, the final round.
Yeah, very exciting conclusion to the season, isn't it? Just looking ahead to race 2, you mentioned how far down the grid Roelof Bruins will start, but it's all about how their relative position to Satyen Tirakel and Philip Hamprecht, who will begin the race tomorrow, and they're quite far down the grid as well. So it's a question of how close they are, how many cars between them. That's going to be pertinent tomorrow. Really very exciting times.
Yeah, I think they will rely, all parties, on other challenges in this, no longer championship challengers, but people who haven't scored as many points through the series but fancy ending on a high. They could work for them and against them. You can't rely. The only place you really need to be is where Martin Rump is, at the front, where nobody else is interrupting your progress. So the lights are out on the safety car. The drivers are international characters. They know what that means, and it'll be dictated. The first car across the start-finish line must be the number 12 Audi. That is the law. No overtaking before then, but it doesn't mean you can get a really, really good run. I'll try and line up a move into turn number 1. The car's almost at the end of the back straight. 28 of them, should have 29, but of course we've lost that ARN Racing Porsche. That's out of the mix. Into turn 14, the little right-hand kick at turn 15. Car number 11 that started from the GT4 pole, coming out of the pits. Clearly a bit of frontal damage. Maybe he got in among the mix with that Ferrari that went around. I think it's a bit further back. The guy was further up the track. So, round the final corner, already accelerating hard and has made a very good restart. Martin Rump, you'd have to suggest that Sakamoto was caught napping somewhat in the third place Ferrari. Let's ride on board with Tanat Satyen Tirakel, second in the championship, second in the race. Nice tidy line for the two of them into turn 1, out of turn 1 up to the crest of the hill at turn number 2. Trying to put the power down too soon. Martin Rump getting enthusiastic. The front end of his Audi washing away. Got it all together again into the compression at turn 3. Slight kick, turn 4 just coming up now. They've got the run up to turn 5, but Martin Rump trying to make up, running wide over the curbs on the exit of turn 4 there. But the first 2 made good the break, but on that run to the first corner, all looks fairly square and pretty even. No, actually what I'd suggest is a better exit out of turn 5 from the car leading the chase. Tanat Satyen Tirakel, second in the championship, desperate to take a win here this afternoon. So let's just have a look. Roelof Bruins looked in the back of the shot as though he's still in 6th place, but what he's going to see is those first 2, Steve, are escaping. They're pulling clear. Yeah, that means he's jumped 1 spot, so he's done well. He started 7th on the grid today, Roelof Bruins, so slowly but surely making his way up the grid. What we saw in the first, 3/4 of a lap. Now they've got the GT4 Mercedes GTO Racing after a clash on that first point. He came in for a pit stop, probably to have bodywork checked and taped down. He is in front of the race leader. They've got to catch him on a point on the circuit. They're considerably faster. He's GT4, they're GT3, but they don't want to be interrupted, don't want to lose the flow that built up through a corner and lose valuable momentum. But right now it looks so down the long straight they go. They'll pick him off, and you can see that very kindly, with the indicator flashing away there, Brian Lee is going to keep out of their way, but he may yet affect those further down the order. The first 2 cars sweep past Yuya Sakamoto, will follow in the 27 Ferrari, or will he? First 2 have got past before the corner, and poor old Brian Lee's going to have to almost park it on the exit just to let them through. He's doing just that, but I think some of those behind made gains there. Let's see, Guyan Chen diving up the inside in 999. As they stand, those are the points, and Philip Hamprecht, Tanat Satyen Tirakel, if they finish like they are, will be just 2 points ahead going into the final round. Yuya Sakamoto only 12 points down, but I also think just off the bottom of that graphic, if it finishes as it is, up to 115, So not taking the championship, even if they win, is the car that's leading. They're relying on the likes of Roloff Bruins not picking up any points today. Points go down to 10th place. Keep that figure in your mind.
Car 1, car 5, car 9, 1, 2, car 1, 7, and car 7 drive-through penalty for false start. Car 5, 9, 1, 2, 1, 7, and car 7 drive-through penalty for false start.
So 4 cars being pinged for a false start, not including, I'm glad to say, any of our championship challengers. The one that was furthest forward of those was Wan Bo in Porsche number 912, who's gone from 10th up to 8th. Number 7, sadly, is one of the, in fact, one of the new cars this weekend. That's from SRO Motorsports Group, and Yim Yi Ling has picked up a penalty. Also, Chris Chia on for Phantom Motorsport. There's Chris, so he's one of 4. Again, for a lot of these people, it's about learning. It was a very, very long hold before the cars were released, before the lights on the starting gantry went from red to green, and I would suggest they can't say it's mitigating circumstances, but they got it wrong. So, drive-through penalty, that means precisely that. Drive into the pits, drive below the speed limit in the pits, and then power on once you reach the white line at the end. But for all those people, that's out of the points. No question about that. Of those crews, the cars in 8th and 9th, which is the 912 Porsche and the number 5 Phantom Pro Mercedes, they're in the top 10, but they won't be once they've served that drive-through penalty. In GT4, it's getting quite interesting at the front. Jean-Marc Merlin, there he is leading the 77 Mercedes, but he's got plenty of company behind, and it must be said, a couple of other runners must have been in the pits. It looks like number 11, no, not number 11, sorry, I beg your pardon, I'm just trying to work out which of the GT, I think it's number 88, must have made a pit visit. No, well, certainly a GT3 runner was down there in the mix. First to second, let's have a look at the gap. It was 1.4, it's 1.4 seconds, staying fairly standard. Similar margin back to from Sathi and Thirikul. Number 918, that's Vuitton in through Fuvasak, who's leading the Pro-Am battle. I'll get onto the points in that. And he's the leading Pro-Am driver in the championship and in the race. So first the cars serving their drive-through penalties at the earliest option, but what we have behind it through Fuvasak, I recognise that car, it's the Solide Indigo Racing Mercedes. That is the championship leader. But Intra Fuvasak doing a very nice, tidy job. We heard when you were on the grid with Roloff Bruins before, Steve, that he was cool, calm and collected, but he acknowledged that he needs to pass, but it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has a tough time ahead of him today and tomorrow. And to be fair to him, he looked fairly stern about it, looks focused. I mean, I'm fully confident that he'll give it his best effort. He looked as if he had the eyes on the prize, but it's something he's got to really focus on here.
Yeah, as we just saw those points, if he finishes where he is, that means his advantage will only be 2 points going into tomorrow's race. But this race is an hour long. We're at the quarter mark of this race. Don't forget, some of this has been behind the safety car, which hasn't really helped Roloff Bruins. He needs them all to be racing laps, see if he can reproduce the form he's had across the season. It has been a rich form, clearly leading the championship. 3 wins to his name this year. Really come on, great battles, but Manuel Metzger has been the best of his 3 teammates. But at the moment, he's sitting in behind Vuitton in through Fuvasak. But what's the gap to the leader of the race? 7.5 seconds, or more, 0.6 seconds back behind his championship challenger, Tanart Sathi and Thirikul. So here they come down to turn 14, and it looks like it's been another good lap, but we're dealing in hundredths of a second. The advantage that Martin Rump is extending the lead by over the driver of the 912, 911 Absolute Racing Porsche. Looks good, look very tidy. And when we looked at them in qualifying, Steve, I was looking at Roloff Bruins really using the curbs and looking quite ragged. I commented on it, and Sathan Thirikul just looks so much smoother. Yeah. And in race trim, again, the Thai racer is looking super slick. Second is good, but he wants that front position. He wants the lead. Suddenly the sun has come through the clouds. Won't be enough to change the temperature that much to affect their tyres. But look in the shots, still the Indigo Racing 97 Mercedes down in 6th place. The good thing from his point of view is the fact he's not being challenged from behind. But I want to single out SRO Motorsport, new to the championship this weekend, the SRO Motorsport crew running 7th. That is really incredibly good. Adeli Fong is there, but Adeli needs to find, he's 3 seconds down. He's not close enough to challenge Roloff Bruins, which is good news for the Korean. But right now, the Korean's got his hands very full indeed. Maybe he's faster than Intra Fuvasak, but he's behind him. we'll never get to see unless he goes past.
Lots of excitement going on at the front. We'll keep you up to date with what's happening in GT4, though. Our championship team leaders split up, driving separate cars today. And at the moment, Chikuchu is about a second and a half ahead of Kinoshita, with one more race coming tomorrow, of course. But this is going to go a long way to determining which one of those two drivers takes the GT4 Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, in fact, the gap is 4 and a bit seconds. It's just opened out on that lap. It's looking very good at the moment, but only running second in class. And don't forget, for Chikuchu and Kinoshita, they've got to serve 22 seconds extra at their pit stop. They'll tumble down. But really, it's a question of which one finishes ahead.
It's a relative situation, yeah.
So leading the way, Jean-Marc Merlin, 21st overall. Frenchman champion in GT4 in 2017, and going very well indeed. Sharing with Douglas Koo this weekend, the Malaysian racer, back on board. But Jean-Marc Merlin just loves racing on these big Grand Prix circuits out in Asia. It's been a real lease of life for him. There's a gap back to the second place car in GT4, Sunako Chikuchu. Must be so strange for these drivers, Chikuchu and Kinoshita. Right, I'm coming in to hand over to my friend and teammate. No, I'm not. I'm actually coming in to hand over to myself by getting out of the car, standing in front of the garage.
Arms folded, standing up straight.
Stand up straight, man. Keep your head up. But he's got company at the moment, certainly being chased around. Looking out through the windscreen of the car, running in 8th place overall, Piti Bhirombhakdi, really going very well in the McLaren. It's got better and better. It was very new at the start of the season for SRO Motorsport, but the Thai racer shares with Kei Tasawa, and they qualified very well indeed, and seem to be making further progress. In fact, it's the second race they qualified well for. The fact they've moved up to 8th from 15th, well, that's the star driver of the race so far. Clearly got it very right at the start. Maybe it was a bit of a sort out when you had the ARN Racing Porsche scattered out of the field, the car that brought out the safety car. But for Piti Bhirombhakdi, that's fabulous.
Bruce, I'm constantly looking at Roelof Bruin's position relative to the guy in front and the guy behind, and there's a big gap either way. He's 0.4 of a second behind Intra Fubasak, and then there's quite a long way between him and Fong behind him, almost 4.5 seconds. So he looks safe for now in 6th, but needs to do a little bit of work to take to go by the Thai driver ahead of him.
Now just taking a look at some of the battle. Oh dear, David Chiptopian Toro has been tipped around there, so was he given a push by Alex Au? Certainly Alex Au started the lap in the 666 Vincenzo Sospiri Racing Lamborghini. I can't see damage on the front, but he started half a second behind at the start of this lap, and the car in front of him is no longer heading in a straight line, is spun around. You have to presume there was contact between the pair of those, and they were fighting just at the tail of the top 10. 10th position overall they were, 10th and 11th, but Lamborghini's still going, so that's up to 10th. In fact, it's up to, because with that incident, they might have both spun, because I noticed Christina Nielsen has moved up ahead of them. So she has gained position. They have lost position.
And as the lap times refresh themselves, the gap between Bruins and Infrathusiak is now a little bit bigger, so he's got to work really hard if he's going to close that gap in terms of points on Satyen Tirikul, who's in second.
So bunches of cars, slightly confusing mix of GT3 and GT4 runners. That's because we've had 4 runners coming into the pits to serve drive-through penalties. But our race leader stretching clear, the number 12 Audi from Absolute Racing, 4.6 seconds to good. The good over Tanat Satyen Tirikul. So for the first lap or so after the restart, after the safety car withdrew, it looked as though Satyen Tirikul could live with the pace of the race leader, but maybe he's playing the longer game. But a person who can't play the long game is the driver of the 97 Mercedes, the championship leader, Roelof Bruins. He's tucked in behind at turn 3. He's getting closer and closer to Vutikorn Intrafubasak in the Panther AAS Motorsport Porsche. That's 5th, and importantly, it's still in front of him. Frustration must be kept at bay. Roelof Bruins has to keep a cool head. He desperately wants to wrap the championship up here in China. He has to wrap it up. This is the final round. Could wrap it up today, but he needs to finish in 3rd place. But let's take a look at the points at the moment. If he finishes in the 6th place he's running in at the moment, he will end on 145 points. And that will still see him sitting pretty for tomorrow, but if the car that's in 2nd place stays there, his advantage will have come down from 12 points to just 2. That's too close to call, so expect the move. Now, here's a question, Steve. What would you do? Bruins seems to have nothing to offer in terms of getting past. Desperately needs to do so, can't afford to take a risk. The pit window will open to... Well, let's take a look at the points again. He's got a 2-point advantage as it stands. He wants more than that. He wants to set himself up. That's too close to call over the car that's running second in the race. But do you think the pit window's opening soon? I'm bottled up. Let's see if they come into pit first. Do we dive in? Do I hand over straight away to Manuel Metzger and hope that we have a faster in and out from our pit stop than the 918 Porsche crew?
The team have got to be working with him in order to try and get the most satisfactory result and looking at all the different permutations. So it won't just be his decision alone, I'm sure. He'll be getting information from his team, and I'm sure they'll tell him what they think is the most calculated, best risk scenario for him to do. It is very complex. I can't wait to get down there and hope to have a word with them.
Well, anyhow, it's good to see you're still a traditional man. First time I've seen a commentator with a slide rule in the commentary box for some years now. But lap after lap, it's still Roelof Bruins. Yes, he's gained a position since the start of the race, but he did that in the first corner. And now he is still stuck in that 6th position. 7th became 6th. Can he improve? But don't forget, the race is an hour long. Doesn't have to resort to heroics, but to be honest, he's been close, but not close enough to make a passing manoeuvre yet. I must say, Vujikon into Fuvasak, the Pro-Am Championship leader, is driving very well indeed. And Inter Fuvasak also has a very handy teammate ready to take over. The 918 Panther AS Motorsport car could be handed over to Alexander Imperatori, and they've had a very strong season together. They've got bagged 2 wins, both times in the second race. Last time out in Korea they did it, and at the end of the second round at Buriram in Thailand. Now we've got some overtaking happening further down the field. 912 dies inside 910, which means Wanbo is going past Lee Hong Lee. Great little battles. Both those teams entered under Chinese licenses. 11 Chinese teams, just showing the growth of motorsport right across Asia, but particularly Chinese teams very much like GT racing. I expect to see some more of them in next year's Blancpain GT World Challenge Asia. And the Porsche was sort of out of favour a couple of seasons ago, but really has come on strong through this year. The new engine positioning, much more wieldy than it has been before. Of course, the Porsche body shape has been around for 50 years and more, but clearly a much larger car than it was when it was launched in the early 1960s. There is our champion, our race leader at the moment, Martin Rump, very much the outside chance in this championship, but he's making no mistakes. He wants to stretch his lead. It was 4 and a bit seconds last time around. It looks like it's gone out yet more, 7 seconds now. So Martin Rump very much in the sweet spot in this race, the sweet spot in qualifying, took pole position. But for Rump and Tan, Absolute Racing Audi crew have had just the 1 win. That was the second race in Fuji Speedway, a second and a first. That gave their championship hope, but they have had some results not even in the top 10 this year. That's why they're not at the sharp end. But if they can achieve not the impossible, but the thing right next door to impossible, and take a win today and the win in the final round, they still have a tiny sliver of hope of taking the championship. But it does mean their championship rivals must not score, but they have to just do all they can and hope that fate takes care of the rest. 27 Ferrari hanging on very nicely indeed in 3rd place overall, also in the championship mix. 27 Ferrari started by Yuya Sakamoto. Marcos Gomez, Brazilian racer, will take that over. He's equal 3rd in the championship. He needs everything to go his way. Now let's take a look into the first of the GT3 pit callers for a proper pit stop, not for a drive-through penalty, and that's going to be handed over. Car number Jeffrey Lee will hand over the 88 Craft Bamboo Racing to his very, very rapid Belgian teammate Alessio Picariello. Don't forget Picariello. All of the number 2 drivers today will be the starting drivers for tomorrow's final race. And for the new crews like Zun Motorsport crew, you can see second of those 2 Mercedes, number 7. That's one of the 2 cars they've entered this weekend. Let's see what they managed to do under the pit stop scenario in the Blancpain GT World Challenge Asia. Cars have to have a minimum time, so a minimum time they can serve in the pit lane. If they go in, serve their pit stop, but go out before that minimum time, then they will be picking up drive-through penalties, and we've seen even experienced teams making those mistakes, so keep it clean. It's worth dropping half a second or a second rather than going under and having to serve a drive-through plus the time difference. So the car that was 5th in the hands of Utikon Intrafuvasak comes in ahead of the championship leader, the car in 6th. But if they finish as they are, he will still be the championship leader, Roloff Bruins, but his lead will have gone down from 12 points to just 2. Ben Porter comes out, as I said, with Batana Motorsport not making it here to the final round. It means the AMAC Motorsport Lamborghini crew have already got the AM title in their bag, but they're leading that category as, actually no, much more of a challenge this weekend because some of the new teams are running in the AM class. Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim coming in to hand over to his Kiwi teammate Shane van Gisbergen, the 888 Mercedes in that magnificent, incredibly metallic, almost polished aluminium style livery on their Mercedes. So Ibrahim coming in from the middle order of GT3, so he's a driver who's really come on through this season. Last time out in Korea, huge smile on the face of the 888 crew because they picked up their first win in the Pro-Am class, a 7th and a 5th overall, really showing the progress they've made. Down in GT4, Jean-Marc Merlin still leading the way, but Martin Rump came in and he's handed over to his teammate Wear on Tan. Let's see what the Malaysian can do now. They need the win. That's the only result that will do for them. And in a season that we've seen great flashes of speed, but a little bit of inconsistency and moments have gone against them. Yes, it's a season of what could have been, but the point is it's a season of what still can be. The championship leader has handed over at the earliest instant as well, or 1 lap after the earliest instance, and so there we have, bottled up in 6th place was Roloff Bruins, and his teammate Manuel Metzger is going to see what he can do. He's got over half an hour remaining in this race. Would he hold station in 6th place, or was their pit stop very well timed indeed? Of the front runners, Yuya Sakamoto now leads in his Ferrari. That's the 27 Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari. And Wyan Chen in the 999 Audi was 4th, has now moved up to 2nd, which isn't bad at all because that car started down in 5th on the grid, so it's been a tidy first half of the race for the Chinese entered Audi. Tanat Sathian Thirikul, 2nd in the championship, 2nd in the race. He's come in a lap after the combination he's chasing, Roloff Bruins, Emmanuel Metzger. He's handing over to Philipp Hamprecht. The German racer will be trying to be cool, calm and collected and see if he can at least come home in 2nd place and keep the championship hopes alive. And you must say that certainly that brilliant opening stint from Martin Rump suggests it's going to be very, very hard to win the race because Rump's crew did not have any success penalty to serve. And let's just run through. If you win a race at the next round, you have to take 15 seconds extra to pit stop, 10 seconds extra if you're 2nd, and 5 seconds extra if you're 3rd. Think how many corners you have to cut to gain that back. There were no success penalties for the number 12 Audi crew, and having led into the changeover period, the point at which driver 1 changes to driver 2, they could do the minimum pit stop time and get back out on the circuit. That's what they've done. And just remember, their lead was 7 and a bit seconds before the pit stops. Might have even gone slightly more in their favour in the lap before the pit stops were made. But now getting clusters of cars that weren't racing with each other before getting to race again. Josh Burden, that number 4, Jun Motorsports. Mercedes was at the sharp end of the field, but it was behind the 918 Porsche. Don't forget the 918 Porsche. Alexander Imperatori, the very quick Swiss, is now at the wheel, but their car was ahead, 2 positions ahead before the pit stop, because the number 4 Mercedes was 7th. The number 4 Mercedes was 4th. Sorry, the 918 Porsche was 5th. The number 4 Mercedes was 7th. Tripped myself up there. But very quick change of positions. Alex Imperatori not hanging around. Went one way, jinked the other. Very tidy move. But I suggest, no disrespect to Josh Burden, that it was going to happen sooner or later with Imperatori. He would find a way by, because that car from Panther AAS Motorsport, run for them by Absolute Racing, has been very quick all season. So Sanako Chikuchu hands the car over to himself. We'll see him climbing out, because both he and his teammate Takayuki Kinoshita up to this point have one would get out, the other has got in. They've got 2 cars this weekend. So look, there goes Sunako Chikuchu. He has to stand behind the white line, not for being a naughty boy, but he has to stand there for 7 seconds. And then he will be told he can go back and get into his car. And his teammate Takayuki Kinoshita can do just the same. So it will feel very different, but this is their way of working out. They knew that if they stay together, they are already the GT4 champions for 2019. But in the name of sportsmanship and keeping themselves interested, they decided to have the 2 cars this weekend run, each of them in 1 car. So they do the whole race, but with the driver change back to themselves in the middle. And then at the end of this meeting, we'll know who is the GT4 champion. One will lose out, one will be the championship, but will be the overall champion winner. So still working away for Sunako Chikuchu, strapping him in, but that's fine. This is how long a driver change would normally take. But they had plenty of time to do it because they had 22 seconds extra in their pit stop. So for either Kinoshita or Chikuchu to win the GT4 class today, it will take the drive of the season. Again, just looking at the screens, not all the GT4 runners, in fact all the GT4 runners have made their pit stops. Yeah, double checking, they're not all back on the circuit because Sunako Chikuchu is the last one to go back out. And we'll see where he slots in. Don't forget, he was leading his teammate Takayuki Kinoshita before the round of pit stops. Just waiting for the 999 Audi leading the race. It's yet to make a pit stop, just waiting for it to come and make its visit, just driven underneath my commentary position. So the car that was 4th before the pit stops, they decided to keep Wai Chen in there as long as they possibly can. And then Rahel Frey, the Swiss racer, will be taking over. They've had some good results this season, just off the podium in recent races, but they've run long. But let's go and speak to the driver who's 2nd in the championship, Tanat Sathianthirikul, with Steve.
Yeah, Tanat is with me, looking a little bit tired. How are you feeling?
To be fair, I struggle a lot with the car. I try to keep it in 2nd place, which I think I did. And hopefully we finished. We came back 2nd, and then we see. But overall was pretty good.
I mean, you're in a good position with Philip in this 2nd leg and Roloff quite far behind. You must be fairly confident.
Yeah, it's racing, you know. You can never know what's going to happen. So let's see until the end. But now it looks pretty good.
How are you going to spend the next 10, 15 minutes or so?
I don't think I'm going to watch the race.
All right, congratulations. Let's fingers crossed.
Thank you.
Back to you, Bruce.
Tanat Sathianthirikul, thank you very much, Steve, is a very cool, calm and collected customer. But you can just sense the tension is there. But Philip Hamprecht has taken over and just been classified 3rd across the start-finish line. That is effectively 2nd, though, because the 999 Audi still listed as race leader, but that is in the pits. In fact, it's just emerged after its pit stop. Don't see where it's going to slot in. I think that might have lost its position. But if it has, he might even have gone back as far as 5th overall, and that means, let's wait and see, just wait to see where Manuel Metzger took over from 6th from his teammate. Championship leader Roloff Bruins is now listed in 5th place. He's 8 and a bit seconds down on the number 27 Hub Also Corsa Ferrari. So as far as the first 2 are concerned, the number 12 Audi from Absolute Racing and the car on the screen at the moment, the 911 Porsche, they were 1st and 2nd before the pit stops, and they're 1st and 2nd all over again. But for Philip Hamprecht, I thought I saw a bit of rear bodywork damage. It might have just been something flapping on the back. No, it's all right, nothing untoward, just a bit of tape catching the light. But the gap between the number 12 Audi, that's got everything lined up for it this weekend. Absolute Racing came here as the absolute outside chance. Literally, if they had 1 point less, I don't think they could have taken the championship victory or something like that. But anyhow, they're 10 seconds clear now. Remarkable run for the number 12 Audi crew, because Martin Rump did a brilliant opening stint from pole position, and Wei Rontan is letting it go. There's the visual. You can see the Ferrari still in 3rd place, if anything getting closer and closer. But let's go down, because Roloff Bruins started from 7th, got up to 6th. He's with Steve.
Yeah, Roloff, you made 1 spot up fairly early on. How did it go overall?
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, the car was as expected. Just surprised by the other cars that they kept up the race pace so well. So it's going to be a long race for Manuel.
Are you feeling upbeat, or do you think it's starting to slip away from you?
No, I mean, it's a long race. So, I mean, there's 25 minutes on the clock, so we're not too far off. I think we're still in the battle. So as long as we don't lose too many positions, then it should be all right.
Thanks for talking to us. Well done.
Before the pit stops, the number 97 Mercedes, there it is, big on the screen, was 6th. It's now 5th. Rahel Frey is the driver in Manuel Metzger's sights. He's very close, the 999 Audi. There they are together, but Rahel, as we've seen in battles before, she's not to be shifted. She will put up a really, really good fight. Totally different lines through turn 3. And there, Rahel Frey really used her brains, because she knew she was just far enough ahead for a no challenge to come into that very tight right-hander. She took the faster, wider line. She left the door open, but knew it was too tight a line for Metzger to be able to exploit. So for now, 4th and 5th they stay. Means, don't forget, before the pit stops, if the championship positions, the positions in the race had stayed as they were, there was the gap between 911 Porsche crew and the championship leader 97 Mercedes crew is going to come down to 2 points with the position gains. It's now going to be 4 points. The difference between 6th becoming 5th for the championship leader Indigo crew. That is good news, chipping away, but they'd rather be further up the field. But right now they've got a battle on their hands. Fastest car on the track is not the car we're looking at, but it's stretching its advantage by small margins. Tan was 10.1 seconds clear. He's now 10.4. Where are the challengers? Well, they're busy behind, because Philipp Hamprecht can't go herring off after the race-leading Audi, because he's got plenty of company, and Marcos Gomez is looking very, very keen on that second place battle. There he is in that number 27 Ferrari. Last time past my commentary position, I thought for a second the Ferrari sounded a little ropey. Again, it's just a different engine, though, bouncing off the wall, the pit wall, the giant grandstand opposite. The Ferrari just sounds much flatter than the Porsche as it comes past, engine-wise. But I talked to Martin Rump, brilliant start from pole position, and Steve has gone and found the man that dominated the first part of the race.
Martin Rump is with me. Martin, you look fairly tired. How are you feeling?
I'm just mentally tired, man. It's been a long day. Everything led up to this. In my mind, I was like preparing from already yesterday on, and just to maximize every session and go first for the pole, and then maximize my stint. And now I'm just fingers crossed, hoping that everything goes well for Weir on. And I think today and previous days that we've arrived here with Audi Sport Asia Team Absolute, it's been a good pleasure working with them, and it's just good preparation. And now we're trying to realize it.
You got a fabulous start. Was the safety car a bit frustrating for you?
Just a tiny bit. At least it was straight away in the beginning, so I still knew that there would be like a decent time in the stint to go, so I still had a chance to pull a gap. But yeah, I mean, every time you want to have as long as a session, you know, but I mean, safety cars are there for a reason, so I'm okay.
All right, well done. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Always good to hear from Martin Rump, but while we had that interview, something rather important happened. Rahel Frey lost 4th position because it's been taken by Manuel Metzger, so the car that Metzger shares with the championship leader, Roloff Bruins, has gone up 1 further place, which makes it harder for Philipp Hamprecht and his teammate Tanar Safi and Thirikul to dream of the championship hopes. They're running in 2nd place, but Marcos Gomez is really pushing the 911 Porsche. And at this point, I also just want to pick out the car in 6th place. SRO Motorsport, I said there, McLaren was going better and better. It's found a circuit that really suits it. 6th place overall. Where did it start? It started down in 15th position. So the 61 McLaren is coming on leaps and bounds. You can almost imagine the McLaren order book has opened its pages for further visitors, because that is a really, really impressive performance. And look just how tidy it looks around the circuit. And for Keita Sawa, he's 6 seconds down on the battle between Metzger and Frey, but he's taking 2 and a bit seconds off it with every lap at the moment. A really sweet lap for them since the pit stop. So a fabulous performance for SRO Motorsport, Japanese team here with the one and only McLaren in the championship, but certainly the best performance they've had all season. First to second, 11.7 seconds.
Car 199 under investigation, less than mandatory pit stop time. Car 199 under investigation, less than mandatory pit stop time.
So there's the message. It almost invariably comes through. Car number 199. It's one of the two Team iRace.win Mercedes in the GT4 class. Kyo Chang handed over to Joe Chi, but they left the pits in less than mandatory minimum pit stop time. So that could be a big problem for them. Right. So, 4th place is where Manuel Metzger has risen to. If he finishes there, he will not have a success penalty tomorrow. It's only the first 3 positions that get it, so possibly he just needed to get up to that position, because that means that the rival car of Philip Hamprecht and Tanart Sathyanthirikul will serve an extra 5 seconds. They're running, having just been passed, just been demoted. Every time I start making a point, we have a change of positions.
1 second less than mandatory pit stop time. Car 199, stop and go penalty. 1 second less than mandatory pit stop time.
So it will be a drive-through penalty for car 199. So they saved a second, but it's cost them a drive-through, and that just puts their race completely out of the window. Place changes further down the order, but the important one in the last lap, as I was talking about success penalty, was that Philip Hamprecht and Tanart Sathyanthirikul, they will pick up if they finish where they are 15 points. A lap ago it would have been 18 points, and every point counts in the championship. But Marcos Gomez, I said he was looking very feisty indeed, but he has moved up into 2nd place for Hub Auto Corsa, and that's very good news for his teammate Yuya Sakamoto, because though Gomez has only done a couple of rounds, Sakamoto's done the whole season. He's 3rd equal in the championship, and certainly could put him right in the mix. And Gomez, having moved past, is now 1.3 seconds, nearly 1.4 seconds ahead of the Hamprecht. He's dropping Hamprecht. There's nothing the German driver can do about it at this point. Manuel Metzger, having passed Fry, is now 2.7 seconds to good. And Fry is now being caught very quickly indeed, even though she's picked up a pace. But Kei Tasawa closing in by 1 3/4 seconds. Last time around, he's 6th in the McLaren, homing in on 5th. But nobody at all is homing in. Wear on Tan. Number 12, Absolute Racing Audi, looking imperious in the first leg from pole position in the hands of Martin Rump. And again, Wear on Tan has an advantage. Came out with about a 10-second advantage. It's just under 11 seconds to the good, but looking very, very strong indeed. Of course, they had no success penalty to serve in the pit stop. Must be said, neither did Sathyanthirikul, handing over to Philip Hamprecht, but that has gone backwards. That's gone from 3rd to 2nd. So as we stand, a short while ago, it was only going to be a 2-point margin for Olof Bruins, but with him moving forward, or his car in the hands of Metzger going forward, it could be 9, because for Philip Hamprecht, who shares with Tanart Sathyanthirikul, he's gone down 1, the championship leader's gone up 1. But for Yuya Sakamoto, he is closing in, because his car is leading both of those. That's in 2nd overall. Doesn't look as though it's going to make much of an impact on the race leader, but there's still 15 minutes to the race. But for now, it's all looking very, very good for the car in the haze in the background. The number 12 Absolute Racing Audi just driving beautifully, but the Ferraris moved from 3rd to 2nd. And so for Hub Auto, of course, they've really enjoyed having Marcos Gomez on board. The Brazilian has really got stuck in. Most of his racing up until recent years has not been in GTs, it's been in big V8 stock cars down in Brazil. Multiple champion in that, but he's made quite a splash. And for Philip Hamprecht, the disappointment. We heard when Steve went down to the pits that Tanart Sathyanthirikul said the performance of the car just wasn't quite right in the race. And what we're seeing, Steve, while you've been running up the stairs, hopping 4 at a time, is the fact that the 911 Porsche is dropped a position and doesn't have any answers.
Yeah, that's quite dramatic news in the time it's taken me to get from there to here. Oh, I tell you, one of the big dramatic changes I noticed, having re-established my position in the commentary box, is that the light has changed. It gets dark early in this part of the world at this time of the year. And, well, they've had their lights on from the start, but, you know, minor changes in the conditions for these guys to get used to. Won't be a big issue for them, but, yeah, Philip Hamprecht and Tanart Sathyanthirikul will just rue the lack of 100% performance in their car. All the while, though, their main challenger in the Drivers' Championship is also struggling.
One factor I keep talking about is success penalty. 15 seconds extra, 10 and 5 for the top 3 positions. Clearly in track performance, Philip Hamprecht can't afford, isn't able to keep that 2nd place. He's down to 3rd and he's dropping away, but actually he'll score 3 points fewer 15
yeah.
finishing second.
With Metzger right behind him.
But he'll have 5 seconds less in the pits tomorrow. I don't think it's something he's considering, but it could actually be a factor. It could work in his favour. Drivers don't do the maths when they're out there. We struggle to do the maths in a commentary box. One thing we don't need to do is see, we're riding on board with the McLaren. Keitasawa, 6th is by far the best result they had this year, but he fancies 5th. And for Rahel Fry, well, he's hunted her down by 1.5, 2 seconds a lap, and now he's got to see if he can pass her. Don't expect the move to come now. He's got to work out a bit of a slip there up into turn 10. Rahel Fry going really wide in the Audi, but suddenly he was in the right position. But now she's in the wrong position. She had to slide wide in the second part of this 3-corner sequence onto the back straight. Oh, the McLaren very nearly got past it into turn 13, but Rahel, she's tough. She does not back off. Now, let's see, using the slipstream down that long back straight, this is exactly the position that Sawa wanted to be in. In fact, by having made his challenge to 12 and 13, he slightly compromised his position, but he's got a fabulous toe there, and surely she's only going to show him the outside line. If you want it, you've got to go outside, and in time-honoured fashion, to the outside goes the McLaren. Who's going to merge in front? Looking to see the nose of the Audi. Well, we saw the nose and the tail, but she had to go very deep into the corner, and again she hangs on. Out of turn 15, we go up towards turn 16. It is a question of surely when, not if, those positions change, but what a fabulous scrap, and what wonderful light, as you said, getting darker and darker, but
well, now here's an opportunity there. Up along this big, long straight. If they're quick in a straight line, they could come into this turn 1 ahead. Let's take a look. Not quite.
And what we're having all along in behind, we've got Alex Imperatori thought, while you're battling at him, I might join in. So 5th, 6th and 7th, almost a touch there as the Swiss driver Imperatori got very close indeed. They got one of the GT4 runners down in front of them. Let's hope that doesn't interrupt their battle through the kink at turn 4. No, staying absolutely out of the way. Oh, so much cement dust they must have put down as they were sweeping all the debris away after contact. Oh, front puncher. Look, is it? There's something flapping on the side of Rahel Fry.
Something, yeah, front right.
Yeah,
just
look,
come
a little
off.
bit of bodywork came out from underneath as they got up to turn 5, but it's been ejected. It's not a punch out. What I saw flapping in the wheel arch was the liner at the top of the wheel arch. The car is lighter. It's going faster without it. I'm only joking, but that GT4 runner cannot get out of the way. It's Craft Bamboo Racing. That's Douglas Coos taken over from Jean-Marc Merlin, and at the moment running 4th in the GT4 class, but what a great little scrap. And in the Pro-Am class, it's rather got lost in this battle. I mentioned it once that the championship leader in Pro-Am, Fujikon Intra-Fuvasak, has got this championship under control far more than Roloff Bruins does in the overall running. And the fact that leading the Pro-Am class, well, second in the Pro-Am class, is his teammate Imperatori. If it stays as it is, he can have a crown on his head this afternoon. So for Thai racer Fujikon Intra-Fuvasak, it's been a great season, and to take the Pro-Am honours is no small reward at all. It's certainly been really strong. 2 overall wins, 4 class wins, 2 second places overall. But right now, feast your eyes on this battle for, look back, 5th place. Rahel Fry would have been disappointed to lose 4th to Manuel Metzger. That's long gone. Metzger is another 6 seconds up the track. Keitasawa in the McLaren all over her tail, and in this wonderful battle for 5th place, Alexander Imperatori just trying to see what he can do. Car 97, I almost want to cover the screen. Final warning for exceeding track limits. Which one's car 97? It's Metzger. The championship leader, Manuel Metzger. Final warning for track limits. Why have a quiet race if you can add a little bit of drama, I've always felt.
There's no shortage of that today, and there won't be tomorrow either, that's for sure.
Well, looking at these fabulous cars on this circuit that allows them to really stretch their legs. Of course we're going to have drama. Marcos Gomez chipping away on the race advantage of our race leader. It was 10, nearly 11 seconds, down to 9 seconds flat, and again on this lap he's taking margins out, but look, under 10 minutes to go. Surely Wear on Tan has got enough of an advantage in the race leading number 12 Audi. Now, this weekend there's a novelty. No longer a Sonako Jikuchu and Takayuki Kinoshita sharing a car. They've got 1 car each. It's the battle to be the overall GT4 champion. If they stayed together, they'd have had a joint championship title, but they decided, in the interest of sport, the interest of fun, they would run in separate cars. Jikuchu's winning that battle in 82. Kinoshita 4 seconds down, nearly 5 seconds down. And in fact, last time around, it was Jikuchu, the driver I always thought was marginally less quick, is the driver who's really got his teeth sunk into the Shanghai circuit. And he is the one that has the advantage. But maybe you win today, you get the 15 seconds extra at a pit stop. whereas your teammate will only get 10. So again, it's close. Let's see. We can't call that one till the final end of the final race of the championship tomorrow. The 911 Porsche, Philippe Hamprecht, having been second when he took it over, back in third, best part of 4 seconds down on Marcos Gomez's Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari, but keeping no challenges near him because Manuel Metzger is nearly 10 seconds down, and Manuel has to be very careful. That's a corner in which Manuel's been warned. Turn 16, too much over the curb, all 4 wheels beyond the white line. You get a warning. He's on his final warning, and it must be said that Philippe Hamprecht was pretty close indeed. He was the equivalent of 3 wheels over the white line, just enough. So for the Solite Indigo Racing team, there'll be only one message to their driver, Manuel Metzger. 4th is fine. Do not get a drive-through penalty. You do all the work. You stay calm through Roloff Bruin's stint. He started 7th, got to 6th, tried 5th, couldn't get it, settled for that, came in, made the pit stop, handed over to Metzger. He's gained a position, but now he could throw it all away. So Metzger will be only hearing one message: stay within the white lines. 7.5 minutes remains for him to do so. Very, very tidy drive from Wear on Tan. Just looking super smooth, it must be said, in race trim. This Audi has looked fabulous. There's the Ferrari in second place. Hub Auto Corsa getting closer, 8 seconds down. He took a second and a bit off last time around as Marcos Gomez leads the chase, but the clock will not be his friend. It will count down before he can get close, but still a really, really good run for Hub Auto Corsa for Marcos Gomez. Been quite a few car drivers sharing that car since the opening round, when David Russell, the Australian racer, raced with Yuya Sakamoto. But Sakamoto's worked well with his teammates, and he's 3rd in the championship. But it's an outside bet, but at least his teammate is doing his absolute everything to try and get as close as he can to the race leader, or just be there if suddenly there's a problem for the number 12 Audi. But right now, we wouldn't wish that on the Audi crew. Certainly a very, very strong run for them. And Wear on Tan, 8 seconds to the good in the lead of the race.
For those of you who keep track of these things, and I'm not sure if you've mentioned it earlier, Bruce, but the fastest lap has gone to Chris van der Drift. He did that lap 13 quite a while ago, but the only man, as far as I can see, who's dipped under 2 minutes and 7 seconds, so well done to him.
Yeah, he did that literally as soon as he took the car over from Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim. But right now, traffic is making it interesting, and in recent laps, Alexander Imperatori in the 918 Porsche for Panther AS Motorsport did manage to get past the McLaren of Keita Sawa. Keita now stuck in behind one of the GT, that's Sanako Chikuchu, which is the class-leading GT4, the second car in the GT4 class. Separated from the tail of this battle, the 999 Audi in the hands of Rahel Frey. Alex Imperatori, more experience of GT cars, but certainly Rahel's been racing them for quite a few years all around the globe and really has made a splash in the Asian series this year. But for a driver who based himself in China very early in his racing career to accelerate himself up the order, Alex Imperatori knows this circuit forwards, backwards and sideways, so he knows where the chink in the armour may occur and how best to exploit it. But no chinks in the armour for number 12, the absolute Audi, stretching its legs but not under pressure. The gap between first and second has come down by about 3 seconds in the last 3 laps, but still 7.5 seconds to good, so surely that's enough for Wear on Tan.
Yeah, top 5 are really well spread out, aren't they? I must say, there's actually almost 33 seconds between first and 5th, so it's they've got clean air, let's put it that way.
I mean, these are very, very unusually large margins for Blancpain GT, but I think what happens in this championship consideration, yes, it's great to see the Ferrari getting closer and closer to the race leader, but Wear on Tan has got it under control. Equal gap, pretty much. 7.6 seconds between first and second, 7.3 between second and third, 9.4 seconds between Philippe Hamprecht in third, and the championship, the car that is challenging for the title, the 97 Indigo Racing Mercedes, running in 4th, but no threat to that. That's got an 8-second advantage. You're quite right, these really are unusual margins. The only really tight battle is 5th, 6th and 7th. Frey and Imperatori just hanging off the tail. Keita Sawa. God, Marcos Gomez really pushing on. I'm afraid that might be a track limits warning. That was turn 16, plus the outside line. You can see there, the perfect line from behind him from
Hamprecht, I think.
Number 911, Philippe Hamprecht, running in 3rd place, stayed within the white lines, but certainly I think that Marcos Gomez trying his utmost. He's gained another second on the race leader. 6.7 seconds down. But look at the clock, under 4 minutes until the checkered flag can be unfurled at the end of the race.
The GT4 drivers at the back of the grid pretty much, but it's Chikuchu who's still ahead of Kinoshita. The margin there is healthy enough for Chikuchu to hold on to that till the end of the race. Those two, of course, going head-to-head in the GT4 battle for the Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, but over the last few laps, it's been about 3/4 of a second a lap gained by Chikuchu over Kinoshita. And so that's working in his favour. But Ringo Chong is leading that. He didn't have as much time that he had to stand at a standstill in the pit stop. He's had no success penalty after a less exciting result for him in Korea, and that's worked in his benefit this time around. Ringo, in fact, he's 22 seconds clear, so he wins it in his own right. In fact, 22 seconds is the gap. 22.1 seconds is the gap. 22 seconds is the extra time that Chikuchu and Kinoshita had to serve in the pit stops. So, in theory, Ringo Chong is winning this race in GT4 by 0.1 of a second, but with the success penalty, you work the system. So, a really, really good, strong run there. Right, let's do a bit of housekeeping. Alexander Imperatori, we've seen him chasing Rahel Fry for 5th place overall, but he's in the Pro-Am class. She is not. He is leading that Pro-Am class. Second car in Pro-Am is just 2 seconds down on him. There it is, the Pro-Am battle, because second is the 61 McLaren, the big Singer livery on the door. 3rd place in Pro-Am is car number 13, Frankie Chen Kong Fu. He's in 8th overall. So Pro-Am runners 6th, 7th and 8th overall to be 1st, 2nd and 3rd in class. There is Imperatori, just about seeing behind the green and gold-nosed Audi. Rahel Frey still running. She's in the silver class, that's the senior class, with the Pro-Am challenge from behind. Very tight indeed, and every time he can't get past, that's half a chance for Keita Sawa to close in a little bit more in the McLaren. About 4 or 5 laps ago, the Swiss driver in the 918 Porsche got ahead of the McLaren, then they got in traffic. Maybe he exploited the traffic, but certainly Rahel Fry rock solid in the Audi. She's got to keep going for, well, the next time around she'll see the checkered flag. Or will there be one further lap? So he's tried the inside, he's going to try the outside, but you make the outside sweep and then you may be able to cut back into the inside. Not happening this time around for Alex Imperatori. Hug the inside line appears to be the tactic. Through turn 2, down into turn 3. And again, Rahel Fry quite happy to take the wider exit line. It's the quicker exit line, but you do leave an inside door open, but you have to be very tight behind to be able to make a move through the kink at 4 up to turn 5. Rahel Fry keeping it straight. Try not to leave a gap up the inside, but almost close enough to make it, but no. They've been like this for several laps, and Rahel Fry not showing any cracks whatsoever. Leading car in the AM class is not Ben Porter, who comes here now as champion, but it's the number 5 crew who are new this weekend, Phantom Pro Racing. Chris Chia sharing with Lu Vai. And they are leading in their Mercedes, number 5, black with the gold flag. So welcome to the championship for Phantom Pro Racing. They are leading the AM class. Where are they overall? They are down in 16th and 18th position respectively, but will we have time to get onto one more lap? I think we just will this time around. So here we go. Number 12 led this race since the outset. 4.1 seconds to good, so just creep onto one further lap, so that shouldn't be a problem. Yes, the gap's come down, but Wear on Tan has got this under control, but it does mean for those who are under a lot of pressure like Rahel Fry, had they backed off, had the race leading car backed off by about another second, that would have been the final lap. They did not, and that means Rahel Fry is going to have to fight for another lap to keep Alexander Imperatori behind her. So Wear on Tan leading in the number 12 Audi, the number 27 Ferrari from Hub Auto Corsa. Marcos Gomez catching her, but surely the Brazilian cannot take 4 seconds out of her and move past on this, the final lap. Philippe Pampres, his car started the championship in the championship battle second today, started second on the grid, has slid back as the Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari, and there it is, there's the confirmation this is the final lap. I think they were hovering, but with the number 12 Audi. In fact, his last lap was its slowest for some while, but coaxing it home. Doesn't matter if they win by 1 second or 5, it really makes no difference. It will be the 25 points for win, the 25 points that were absolutely essential to keep Martin Rump and Wyron Tan in this number 12 Absolute Racing Audi in the championship battle. To talk about them as the outside bet is almost to underestimate it. It is a giant challenge. They have to win this race and tomorrow's race. Don't forget they have 15 seconds of success penalty to knit into their mix. But you'd have to say, looking at today's form, they are looking pretty good. Their race pace is good, but the trouble is, Wyron Tan qualified 17th out of the 23 GT runners, so I think that is the factor that means that victory today will not, well, yes, it will keep them into the championship, but they need everybody else to have a disaster in the final race, the 12th and final race of the 2019 championship. But they've shown very, very well indeed, all built on the qualifying form of Martin Rump. His brilliant opening stint had a 10-second advantage before the pit stops, and the checkered flag is out for the race winner today, number 12 coming through. So victory for Wyron Tan and the driver who started it all, which is Martin Rump. Marcus Gomez takes second place overall. What was the gap at the end? 3.5 seconds, but that is absolutely fine. 25 points to the winners, added third place, still in the championship battle as well. Philippe Pampres sharing with Tanart Safi and Thiracal. Third place will move them up to, let's do the maths, 140 points. Just remember that one. Oh, down to the final corner. Will there be a passing manoeuvre for fifth place overall? It's the Pro-Am leading. 918 Porsche still in behind Rahel Frey. It's a drag race out of the final corner, but it's a very short run to the checker flag. Oh my God, that must be 0.01 of a second. He got ahead by 0.014 of a second, so the Porsche made a better exit of the final corner. That's Alex Imperatori not accepting he's beaten until the checkered flag. And right beneath my commentary position, I honestly thought it was a dead heat, but a little more momentum, and the Audi was passed. The car was going to win the AM class on its debut. This is very, very impressive from new Chinese team in the championship. Phantom Pro Racing, their number 5 Mercedes. Doing well is ahead of the Ferrari as well, so that's a very good run indeed. That's should be 16th place overall, so really making their presence felt on their debut. Actually, in fact, it looks like Rio Haryanto's decided to move past. They're not running in the same class, and rather than risk class win being taken away, Wei Lu, loads of experience in the international scene, has moved aside, staying close, but the 75 Ferrari had a little problem earlier in the race, has picked his way forward. But great run there. Hats off to the number 12 Audi Sport Asia Audi crew, number 12. Sister car number 13, also in the top 10, finished in 8th place overall. But victory and a very tidy looking win for the number 12 Audi crew today of Martin Rump, who started from pole, and Wyron Tan, the Malaysian, who finished it off. Last few runners coming to the line, and as you can see, the sun very low, straight in their eyes. They got the start, finish straight. In fact, that was two it was the team iRace.win in their GT3 Mercedes, new to the championship this weekend, one of 4 new Chinese crews here. But to the winner, coming home, just enjoying it, the first part of their championship weekend. Martin Rump, who started, he's calm, collected in the pits, and Wyron Tan, really good clean run from him. And that's their second win in the championship this year, so they've got pedigree, but for a few poor results earlier in the year. Little problems, they could have been right in the championship mix. And in fact, just looking at the time difference overall, it actually has been reversed at Rahel Frey, fleetingly listed as 0.014 of a second behind Imperatori, is actually 0.013 ahead. But in the excitement of it all, of course, when I was talking about number 12 still being in the championship mix, they had to take victory today and tomorrow, but of course that's relying on none of their championship rivals completing the race in the points, which of course they did. So they are now out of the mix. They did all they could, but unfortunately, particularly with Manuel Metzger and Roloff Bruins moving further forward, it means that Roloff Bruins is actually 34 points ahead of them, only 25 for a win. So yes, the meteorite strike they needed on their rivals did not happen, and also with good strong result for Philippe Pampres in the 911 Porsche crew that started the day second overall. That was enough to remove the absolute Audi crew from the overall reckoning. So yes, got a little bit overexcited there, thinking of course they were still in the mix, but that was reliant on their championship rivals falling from the overall battle. And did I tell you who won GT4? No, there was so much going on. And right towards the end, Ringo Chong, he won it by 22.3 seconds. So really good run for the number 111 from Team iRace.win. And interestingly, Jakuchu and Kinoshita separated for once. Eventually, 11 seconds between the pair. Sanako Jakuchu really got it right here at Shanghai. They will go into tomorrow's race with Jakuchu with the championship advantage. But, and there always is a but, he will have an extra 5 seconds at a standstill in his pit stop. Will that be enough? Well, he won today by 11 seconds over his teammate, or beat his teammate by 11 seconds. But neither of them, though, could live with the pace of the number 111 Mercedes crew. And there is our GT4 winner, coming in looking very good indeed in the setting sun here at Shanghai. And we'll have enjoyed that very much indeed. In the AM class, as I said, it was a Phantom Pro crew, number 5 Mercedes. They came home eventually just 2.3 seconds ahead of Ben Porter, but Ben, the Australian racer, already knows he is the champion. But let's go down and hear from our race winner, We're on Tan with Steve.
Yeah, We're on Tan is with me. Delighted young man, well driven. How's it feel?
Awesome. Oh, it'd be much better if we were really in the fight for the championship. But, you know, we came here with one mindset. We wanted to cap the year with a win. Still got one more race tomorrow, but, you know, today was fantastic. Everyone did an amazing job. Martin put the car on pole. Amazing first stint, and we brought it back in P1, just like we wanted.
You say you're not in the fight for the championship, but it must have been a wonderful development during the course of the season, both you, your teammate, and the car.
Definitely. It's been an incredible journey. You know, I love all the boys and girls back. Mate, yeah.
Martin has joined us. Martin, what was it like watching your teammate there? A few nails bitten?
Nail bite, yes. That's what I was going to say. Oh my God. Yeah, we all just worked so hard for this to happen today, and exactly how we planned it. So happy for the team.
All right, there's some champagne to come. Enjoy yourselves.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Steve, and very, very happy faces indeed. We're on Tan, the first driver to speak, and then Martin Rump. And it's good to see there's camaraderie between teammates. They do have to work together because whatever the pace of one driver versus the other, they will try and bring the other one on. They weren't challenged in the race today. Such was the form of Martin Rump. He made that lead at the start, controlled the restart, and then with Tanat Sathian Thirikul just finding the handling wasn't there in his Porsche. He held on to second place to the pit stops, but by then the number 12 Audi was home and hosed. It made its break. And at the end of the race, 3.5 seconds was the margin. It was so much more. Brilliant second stint in the race by the 27 Ferrari from Hub Auto Corsa. Marcos Gomez moved ahead of Philips Hamprecht, who took over the 911 Porsche and stretched his legs. As you can see, 13 seconds between them at the end of the race. However, those 25 points for victory, they needed the same again tomorrow, and nobody else scoring among the top runners. So I'm afraid the first hurdle was cleared, but the second hurdle not for Wear on Tan and Martin Rump. They're out of the championship running, but they needed a second win for their campaign. They've got one, so well done to them this afternoon. And if you're a fan of GT4, look, Setiwan Santoso and Ringo Chong, 23rd overall, but top in GT4, and by the good margin of 22 and a bit seconds over the drivers who are split this weekend. Normally teammates, still teammates, but in separate cars. Sunako Jakuchu and Takayuki Kinoshita. This is their chance to see who will be the individual champion in GT4. They split themselves up, and it's very much advantage to Sunako Jakuchu. Second and third today. They will have success penalties tomorrow to serve as well, but enjoy the result today. Great race, but really it belonged to the number 12 crew, who just performed supremely to take victory. Audi Sport Asia team entered by Absolute Racing, Martin Rump and Wear on Tan. And there is the championship reckoning. Roloff Bruins came here with a tidy advantage of 12 points. It's down to 9. At one point in the race, it was down to 2. So he came forward, or his teammate helped him, Manuel Metzger. Philip Hamprecht and Sathian Thirikul, they fell back one position from second to third. And then the outside bet looked for Yuya Sakamoto, who really enjoyed his car accelerating up the order there. He shared with Marcos Gomez. That second place has put them in as outside championship challengers. Let's see how the points unfurl tomorrow. But right now, it was a real case of the tables moving in the favour of some, less so in the others. But for Roloff Bruins, who started today down in 7th, the fact he's still in the lead of the championship is good news indeed. There's another 1 hour race to come tomorrow to conclude the 2019 Blancpain GT World Challenge Asia race and season, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Mathematicians, bring your slide rules, because it's going to be very, very complex. just how we like it. And look at that scene. I can honestly say the Shanghai International Circuit has never looked prettier. Beautiful clear skies, the setting sun, and unfortunately for some of the drivers there, it was the setting sun on their championship hopes, but they gave it a good shot, and this circuit certainly provides the scope for that, and does look truly beautiful as the sun goes down. And the podium ceremony is about to commence. As the drivers have done their post-race interviews, they've been moved upstairs to the podium, and I would reckon it would almost be dark, such is the pace with which the sun is falling over the horizon here in Shanghai before the podium ceremony is over. But as we heard from the race winner, Tan, and his teammate Martin Rump, they knew they were an outside bet. They gave it their best shot. Victory is as high as you can finish in a race, but even that doesn't mean they can continue fighting for the championship, because with the rivals, those that started somewhere ahead of them on the points, most notably Roelof Bruins and the pairing of Tanart Sathyanthirikul and Philipp Hamprecht, as long as they stayed in the points, Rump and Tan would be out of it for the final race tomorrow. But they did themselves proud this afternoon here at the Shanghai International Circuit, and we should be greeting them on the podium very, very soon indeed. So let's just wait and see as they're brought upstairs. Many stories to tell after that race. Certainly, we lost one car right on the opening lap. Hiroaki Nagai, damage to the ARN Racing Porsche, but for those behind, it was pretty clean. We had a couple of pit visitors, certainly in GT4 class. The GTO Racing with TTR Mercedes that started from class pole. Unfortunately, that picked up bodywork damage, probably as the field Constantine had behind, and their race wasn't over before it started, but they made a pit visit and drove around missing a headlight for the rest of the race, but that affected them really rather badly. Ended up bottom in the GT4 class. But the podium ceremony is almost upon us at 5:30 in the afternoon. So let's prepare ourselves for the podium ceremony.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podium ceremony for Race 1 Blancpain GT World Challenge Asia at Shanghai International Circuit. We'll start this ceremony with the overall winners. Join me, please, in welcoming our third place finishers in the 911 car, Tanart Sathyanthirikul and Philipp Hamprecht. And in second place this Friday, driving the 27 car, Yuya Sakamoto and Marcos Gomez. And your winners in the 12 car, ladies and gentlemen, Martin Rump and Wiron Tan.
Thank you very much, Steve. Announcing, you can see the body language of people who have done a very good job indeed. Martin Rump on the left and Wiron Tan. Interesting to see the first pairing coming out. Slightly long faces. Philipp Hamprecht and Tanart Sathyanthirikul. They needed that second place. They needed the win. That was never going to happen, unfortunately, for them today. But out onto the podium comes the man to present the trophies, Matteo Braga, the Pirelli racing manager. But just to go back, second place would have made them that much closer in the championship. They'd have gained another 3 points. The gap is out to 9 over their deficit now to Roelof Bruins, but they could have clawed a few more back. The performance wasn't there today. Let's see what happens tomorrow, but the grid is very interesting. I won't get ahead of myself, but tomorrow's grid, a lot of the front runners, a lot of the championship challenges are some way back. That's a story that deserves telling tomorrow, but certainly as the checks come out, everyone likes checks. Here is the series director of SRO, Benjamin Franisovici. But at this point in the championship, it's about the championship itself. So, out of the championship, but definitely with the biggest check today, our race winners, Wiron Tan and Martin Rump. They wanted their win, they took the win, and did it in great style. Had performance to spare.
Let's see some champagne!
And as the champagne is sprayed, I know it's rude to look ahead to tomorrow, but just say our championship leader will be starting from 14th on the grid. That's not normally where you find a championship leader. Many a race can come unstuck if you start a long way down the grid, but the championship challengers aren't that much better up there from 8th. So don't forget, success penalties will come into play, but the championship leader does not have any to serve. Finished 4th today, Manuel Metzger, along with the championship leader, Roelof Bruins. That means they at least will advance several positions there as a result of the penalties. But today belonged to the number 12 Audi crew of Wiron Tan and Martin Rump, out of the championship now. They did all they could. They had to win this race and the next one tomorrow, the last one tomorrow. But let's take a look at the points as we consider Saturday's race, the final race of 2019. Leading Blancpain GT World Challenge Asia, 149 points. Roelof Bruins, his teammate Manuel Metzger is down on 113, but of course he can't take the overall theme because he missed some of the rounds. But he will play his role tomorrow. He'll be starting. Philip Pamprecht and Tanart Sathyan Thirikul 9 points behind. So they closed the gap, but it could have been more if they'd stayed in that second position. But look out for Yuya Sakamoto, the Ferrari crew from Hub Auto Corsa. They're determined to have their say as well. That's all from today. Join us tomorrow at Shanghai. So here we have the podium ceremony in the Pro-Am class, and coming onto the top step, they fought for this, they really deserved it, and here we have Vutikon Inthra-Fuvasak and the championship leader. There he is, the Pro-Am championship, Vutikon Inthra-Fuvasak and Alexander Imperatori. Left step of the podium, the McLaren crew of Keita Sawa and Piti Birambakti, and third place in Pro-Am, Frankie Cheng Kong Fu brought it home, the number 13 Audi, so it's been a good day for Audi Sport Asia team and his teammate Jingsu Sun on the right-hand side of the podium. But the big smiles up on that top step. They started today with a very tidy win. They needed second place to clinch the title for Vutikon Inthra-Fuvasak. Imperatori will not be the champion in Pro-Am because he missed a round, but for Vutikon, no wonder such a big smile up on the top step. He needed second place. And you can see as Benjamin Franasevici hands the clock. I think that one's extra special. They've been overall winners in the races, but it was coming here for the Pro-Am title. And for Vutikon Inthra-Fuvasak, it's looking a very good year for Thai racers, and certainly he's got the championship in the bag.
Let's get some champagne consumed.
And I think the McLaren crew should be pretty pleased with life as well. They came here with the best result thus far in the season of 7th place overall. They ended up with 7th again today, but it was a far more competitive 7th for one stage, but up in 6th, coming on strong at the conclusion of the season. So the podium ceremony far from finished. We've had overall. Now we've had Pro-Am, they can drink the champagne, they deserve that. And we'll have Am, and then we'll have GT4 as well. The 3 GT3 classes and the junior class GT4, a battle within the overall battle. The podium is reset, and you can see how fast the sun is going down. I think the race start was the perfect timing, but tomorrow our race start a whole lot earlier, 11:55.
In second position, in the 51 car, Andrew McPherson and Ben Porter. And taking the top step of the podium in the number 5 car, Cha-On Chris and Wei Lu.
New team to the championship, and almost the biggest round of applause. Wei Lu on the top step and Chris Onchia, his teammate. So welcome to the championship, and hopefully see you again next year. Phantom Pro Racing. Plenty of support for that Mercedes crew. Now the anthems. Out come the trophies, and presenting those, Ryo Kawakami, Executive Director of Tribo Japan. And for the regular crews, most notably the AMAC Motorsport crew, Ben Porter on the left and the taller figure of Andrew McPherson. They're used to getting these trophies because they are the champions in the AM class across the whole season. Wrapped it up coming into this meeting, but still up on the podium, somewhere they very much celebrate. And third place, another new team in the GT3 class, Team iRace. Win, now Lin, driving one of those, and Yiming Lin, his teammate.
To get out of the way, let's pop some champagne!
So we know that one of these crews is a regular on the podium. They'll be quickest with the champagne. I'm sure, yes, they are. Andrew McPherson. And more experience needs to be gained from the two Chinese crew alongside, but they're certainly getting into the spirit of things very much indeed. But the crew on the left, No champagne in my eyes, said the man wearing glasses, who already got his defences there. Andrew McPherson always enjoys his time up on the podium. Had an awful lot of that this year. So just to reiterate, second place today for the AMAC Motorsport Crew. Only 2.3 seconds in arrears. Exactly the same second place margin as there was in the Pro-Am class, as it happens. But another great result. And good to have two new crews up there to play.
Now move to the GT4 class ceremony. In third position, in the 81 car, Takayuki Kinoshita. In second position, his teammate but driving the 82 car, Sunako Jukuchu. But your winners, ladies and gentlemen, who looks like he'll be alone on the podium, driving the 111 car, Setiawan Santoso and Ringo Chong.
As the light goes down, the colour of those suits go up. All four drivers up there. We're used to the Sunako Jukuchu, Takayuki Kinoshita combination being on the top step. They had lots of success penalty, but look, they're on separate steps. They drove different cars, but the victory today. Setiawan Santoso and Ringo Chong up on the top step, glowing in the dark in their day glow overalls. They took the win for Team iRace.win, so the Indonesian Singaporean combination proving very handy indeed. They won by 22 seconds today, so no wonder they look slightly out of puff, but very, very happy with life.
Benjamin Franasovici.
So again, Benjamin Franasovici handing out the checks to the winning crews, the top two crews, but it's just so interesting. They always celebrate on the podium, but normally together. Jukuchu on the left and Kinoshita on the right. This time they have to settle for second and third because they drove individual entries this weekend. One car each rather than sharing. And as always, coming out with something to celebrate. This time someone else's birthday, but they enjoyed second and third. But in their battle to see which of them will be the overall GT4 champion. Very brave of them to try this. It's Sunako Jukuchu, the driver who finished second today, who takes the championship lead. What an interesting twist at the end of the 2019 series.
Gentlemen, that wraps up our ceremonies for this Friday.
So let's take a look at the points. 3 points the good. No one else close enough to challenge them. That was always going to be the case. Second place today meant Chong and Santoso, gained a good helping of points, 25 overall. But tomorrow, Sunako Jukuchu starts with a 3-point advantage over his teammate Takayuki Kinoshita. They do have success penalty, though. So 10 seconds extra in the pits tomorrow for Jukuchu and 5 for Kinoshita. That might make the difference, but it's advantage Jukuchu. That's all from the podium ceremonies. That's all from the GT4 class until the 12th and final race of the season tomorrow. Let's take a look at the highlights of today's 1 hour of scintillating racing here at Shanghai. Wind started to pick up, but it was warm, not too hot, not too humid. Nicest driving conditions we've had all season. And Martin Rump leading away from pole position, challenged by the driver who is second in the championship, Tanart Sathian-Thirikul in the 911 Porsche. But importantly, starting in 7th, the 97 Mercedes in the hands of championship leader Roloff Bruins, gained a position at the start, didn't pick up any more around that difficult turn 1, 2, 3 combination, but kept it clean and tidy. We did have a car spinning from the middle of the GT3 pack, Hiroaki Nagai in the ARN Racing Porsche off at the side of the circuit. That brought out the safety car, but look, already Martin Rump was pulling clear. Another car making progress was Wyan Chen in the 999 Audi, and then further down the order, places changing in the Pro-Am honours. 918, 912 fighting together, but it was clean, it was tidy. One of the earliest pit stoppers was Jeffrey Lee to hand over to Alessio Picariello, but it didn't result in a top 10 finish. It was quite a big ask, and then it got crowded in the pits. This is riding in with Tanart Sathian-Thirikul. Didn't want to lose even a fraction of a second as he handed over to his teammate Philip Hamprecht, and positions were saved. Second remained in second. New runner in the championship, Phantom Pro Racing, very impressive on their debut. Qualified very well indeed. Fell down the order overall, but Ringo Chong and Setiawan Santoso driving beautifully in the GT4 class. Got into the lead early on and stayed there. Now, This is the view from Kate Asawa's McLaren all over the tail of Rahel Frey. The second half of the race, this is fighting for 5th place overall. It was a fantastic scrap. It looks as though the McLaren driver adjusted enough, but he was on the outside line. And look what's happening, the 918 Porsche, while they were fighting, Alex Imperatori in the second half of the race decided, I'm joining in almost immediately. He hunted down, got past the McLaren, then he set about Rahel Frey. At the end, on the sprint to the line, it was super close between them, but it remained with the Porsche just tucked in behind. Great scrap. Out front though, the number 12 Audi handed over from Martin Rump with a 12-second advantage. Then it became 10, then it became 8. Then at the end of the race it went down to 3.5 seconds. And here, coming out of the corner for the final time, is our race leader. There's the checkered flag. We're on tan, delighted in closing all the time, Marcos Gomez. Now, he took 2nd place. Really good run for Hub Auto Corsa. We'll hope his teammate Yuya Sakamoto. This is the sprint for 5th place. It looks like the Porsche had just about managed to pull clear. That's what 13 thousandths of a second looks like, with Rahel Frey hanging on. And to win the AM class on the debut in the championship, the wave through the screen there. And for Phantom Pro Racing, very well indeed. But under the arch, delighted where on town was determined to take another win. And he, up on the top step of the podium with the man who built that win, Martin Rump. Very, very happy with life indeed. As the sun goes down on the circuit here at Shanghai, that's all from us now. That's all from me, Bruce Jones, in the commentary box, and Steve Dawson doing the ceremonies in the pit lane. Join us tomorrow. Looking forward to it already.